What you are about to hear could be one of the most dangerous turning points in modern history. Reports are emerging claiming that Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, has been killed in a coordinated attack linked to the United States and Israel. If true, this is not just an assassination, it is a moment that could ignite a full-scale regional war. Right now, information is coming in fast, emotional, and highly charged. Iranian media sources are reporting that the supreme leader was killed, along with members of his family and several of the country's most powerful military and political figures. Among those reportedly killed are senior commanders of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, top defense officials, and key advisors. According to these reports, the strike targeted a high-level meeting, suggesting a calculated and deeply coordinated operation. But there is a critical truth that must be stated clearly. As of now, this level of detail remains unverified by major independent international sources, and in moments like this, misinformation can spread just as fast as facts. Still, even the possibility of such an event is enough to shake the entire world. To understand the gravity of this situation, you need to understand what the supreme leader represents in Iran. This is not just a symbolic role. The supreme leader is the highest authority in the country. He controls the armed forces, oversees the judiciary, influences foreign policy, and holds ultimate power over the political system. Since the Islamic Revolution of 1979, this position has been the core of Iran's identity and governance. Now imagine that figure is suddenly removed. The immediate aftermath inside Iran appears intense and emotional. Reports describe mass mourning across major cities, with large crowds gathering in public squares and religious sites. A period of national mourning has reportedly been declared, with days of closure and extended grief rituals. Symbolic red flags of vengeance have been raised at key religious locations, signaling not just sorrow, but a call for retaliation. At the same time, Iran's leadership structure is shifting. A temporary leadership council is said to have taken control, made up of senior judicial, political, and religious figures. This is consistent with Iran's constitutional process, where a transitional body governs until a new supreme leader is selected by the assembly of experts. But in reality, power does not always follow written rules, because behind the political structure stands the Revolutionary Guard. The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps is one of the most powerful forces in Iran. It is not just a military unit, it is an institution deeply embedded in the country's political and economic system. And now it is reportedly vowing revenge. Not just words, but action. Strong, direct, and potentially immediate. And this is where the situation begins to escalate beyond control. Iran has already signaled retaliation. Missile strikes have reportedly been launched towards Israeli-controlled areas, with casualties and damage being reported. Emergency measures are said to be in place across parts of Israel, with civilians taking shelter and infrastructure under threat. At the same time, U.S. forces in the region are being drawn into the conflict, with reports of casualties and direct confrontations. The conflict is no longer contained. What started as targeted strikes has now expanded into a broader military exchange. Reports suggest attacks and counterattacks across multiple regions, including parts of the Gulf. Strategic locations, airports, and military installations have been hit. Even neighboring countries are feeling the shockwaves, both physically and politically. And then comes the global dimension.
This is not just about Iran, Israel, and the United States. Major powers are watching closely. Russia and China have reportedly condemned the actions, calling them violations of international law and urging a return to diplomacy. Their response, while not yet military, adds another layer of tension. Because when global powers begin to take sides, the risk of a wider conflict increases. There is also the question of energy. The Middle East is the heart of global oil supply, and one of the most critical routes in the world, the Strait of Hormuz, sits directly in this region. A large percentage of global oil passes through this narrow corridor. If this conflict disrupts that flow, the consequences will be immediate. Prices will rise, markets will react. Economies, especially those dependent on energy imports, will feel the pressure almost instantly. But beyond economics, there is something deeper happening here. This moment challenges the rules that have governed international relations for decades. Traditionally, direct targeting of top leaders is rare and highly sensitive. It risks crossing a line that many countries have avoided, even in times of war. If this becomes a new pattern, it could redefine how conflicts are fought in the future. And there is another uncomfortable question. Was this a strategic move or a dangerous gamble? Supporters of aggressive action might argue that removing a powerful leader weakens a system, that it creates an opportunity for change. But history often tells a different story. In many cases, such actions do not bring stability, they bring chaos. They create power struggles, strengthen hardline elements, and deepen resistance. Iran is not a fragile state. It has a strong internal structure, a network of allies, and a population that can unite under pressure. Instead of collapse, this could lead to consolidation. Instead of surrender, escalation. And that is the real danger. Because once a conflict reaches this level, it becomes harder to control. Retaliation leads to counter-retaliation. Each move raises the stakes. Each decision carries more risk. And eventually, the situation can spiral beyond the intentions of those who started it. Right now, the world is watching. Governments are calculating their next steps. Markets are reacting. People across the region are bracing for what comes next. But beneath all of this, there is uncertainty. We do not yet know the full truth of what has happened. We do not know how far this will go, and we do not know who will ultimately control the outcome. What we do know is this. If the reported death of Iran's supreme leader is confirmed, this will not be the end of a conflict. It will be the beginning of something much larger, a shift in power, a test of global stability, and possibly the opening chapter of a new and more dangerous era. And in times like this, history does not wait. It moves forward, with or without control.